Good morning, everyone. This is going to be a lesson for our lesson 11 of geometry, and the topic is on symmetry. Symmetry is when you can divide an object perfectly in half along some line. So there's a line that can divide a figure into two equal parts, which when folded will fit perfectly on top of each other. Symmetry is something you're likely very familiar with. But if we were to draw a very simple shape that demonstrates symmetry, is usually a square. It's pretty an easy one. There are lots of lines of symmetry on a square. But for this one, let's say that we could draw a line like this. Dotted line along here. And if I were to fold along this line, the two shapes would fit perfectly on top of each other. And that would mean that there is symmetry, and that is a line of symmetry. Angle bisectors are somewhat similar to this, actually. Symmetry is about the entire shape. Angle bisectors specifically is about just an angle, and an angle that divides another angle perfectly in half. So if you were to have a 50-degree angle that has a bisector in place, it would be 25 degrees on either side. So I have a little drawing of that down here. We have a 50-degree angle. This entire angle here is 50 degrees. And I've drawn an angle bisector which splits the line in half, and both of these are 25. And that's my angle bisector. If my drawing were to be similar looking, let me just quickly roughly sketch this. So say again, this would be 50 degrees as an example. But I did my line like this. I would not say that's an angle bisector, because it has to be perfectly half of each, and this is clearly not half of each. So this would not be an angle bisector, where this would be. Okay. A perpendicular bisector is similar to an angle bisector, but it must make a 90-degree angle with another line. So on my square example, again, we'll draw another square for a moment. A perpendicular bisector to this would be right along this line, that line. Those would be perpendicular bisectors because when it's hitting the other line, it's perpendicular to it, and perpendicular means there's a 90-degree angle. So right here, those would be little tiny 90-degree angles, which would mean that they're perpendicular bisectors. Okay, so important thing to remember, symmetry will cut a shape perfectly in half and then we'll be able to fold on top of each other. Angle bisector will cut a line perfectly, or an angle perfectly in half, and will be equal angles on either side of the line. And then a perpendicular bisector will split a line in half, so it'll split a line perfectly in half. So this is the line. So it bisects the line, but then also it makes a perpendicular angle to that line. Okay, so it's a pretty short one. This is for page 120 and 121. Hope this was helpful.